Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 129 based on novel. So let's start. 3 hours later, under the stone tablet, 3 rays of light came from the horizon. They were followed by a series of thunderous sonic booms. These 3 rays of light descend from the sky with the pressure of a 10,000-man army. They landed directly next to the 7 people waiting beneath the stone tablet. Following the thunderous roar, their landing created a gust of wind that blew everyone but the man named Gua back several feet. Their faces were all extremely pale and filled with fear. After the gust passed, 3 figures were revealed. All 3 of them were white-haired old men, and a powerful sword energy could be felt from underneath each of their black robes. Each one of them had a treasure sword that gave off waves of sword pressure on their backs. Among the 3, only one person was at the late stage of soul formation, the other 2 were at the early stage of soul transformation. Once the man named Gua saw the 3 of them, his heart trembled. He immediately bowed and respectfully said, "6th generation disciple Gua Xingyi greets Uncle Master." The person he bowed to was the only soul formation cultivator among the 3. Gua Xingyi's expression was extremely respectful. The soul formation old man smiled, nodded, and said, "Gua Xingyi, come and greet the 2 sword pavilion elders." He moved to the side and gave Gua Xingyi a look. Gua Xingyi quickly kneeled down on one knee and said, with even more respect than before, "Disciple greets elders." One of the 2 early-stage soul transformation old men was short and the other one was tall. The tall one said, "Stand up and speak. Was the brilliant golden fruit found by you?" Gua Xingyi quickly got up, then he pointed at the woman, Qian, who still hadn't said a word and simply looked at him with a cold gaze. "This woman is Junior's good friend. The brilliant golden fruits were found by her sect, but there were demonic beasts guarding them, and they couldn't obtain them with their power. Junior just happened to pass by and agreed to go with them." The 2 soul transformation elders looked at each. The short one asked, "Little girl, how many brilliant golden fruits did you see?" Qian originally wasn't willing to speak, but under the old man's lightning-like gaze, she couldn't help but softly say, "There are about 100 fruits." 100. The short old man's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "The demonic beasts guarding 100 brilliant golden fruits must be extremely powerful. For your sect to find it, they aren't simple." Qian didn't speak, but the white-robed man beside her said, with indignation, "My sect expended a lot of effort and sacrificed several elders to find the brilliant golden fruits. Your Da Lu sword sect." Qian frowned and shouted, "Shut up." The man's face was filled with anger. He took a deep breath, turned his head, and no longer spoke. Gua Xingyi hesitated for a bit before respectfully saying, "Lord Elder, Qian is Junior's good friend. After obtaining the brilliant golden fruits, would it be possible to give her one?" The tall old man laughed and said, "If we can find them, then we'll give her one. Lead the way." Qian let out a sigh and held some complex feelings in her heart. She had no choice but to lead the way, or else it would affect her sect. With how tyrannical the Da Luo sword sect was, anyone that dared to go against them would be wiped out. Not to mention the fact that just these 2 elders here gave off an aura that was several times more powerful than the head elder of her sect. Compared to the Da Lu sword sect, her sect was like a firefly, they stood no chance of resisting. "Gua Xingyi, to abuse my trust," Qian felt bitter in her heart. She gave Gua Xingyi a vicious look before clenching her jaw and walking into the Earth Northern demonic lands. The white-robed man that belonged to the same sect as her followed with a gloomy expression. The people of the Da Luo sword sect walked into the thin mist and disappeared. Wang Lin was making his way through the Earth Northern demonic land. He had his hands behind his back and his feet were 3 inches off the ground as he flew through the area. He was still comprehending the various changes in the celestial slaughter art and how to change life force into a life force seal. The surrounding mountain range was completely silent without any sign of life. As he was flying, a ghostly light flashed a bit before him, then a figure suddenly shot out of hiding and charged at Wang Lin. The figure's speed was too fast, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived before him. It was surrounded by a layer of black fog and a bloody smell rushed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body didn't stop, his expression didn't even change. At the moment the black figure closed in, he rubbed his right hand's fingers and pointed at it. He directly stabbed his finger into the black fog. A ray of grey gas came out from Wang Lin's fingertip. However, this grey gas was extremely weak, so right after it appeared, a majority of it disappeared. Not much grey gas had entered the black figure. A sizzling sound suddenly came out from the black fog. It was as if snow was melting. The black fog boiled until it finally dissipated, revealing a fist-sized beast. This small beast didn't have any limbs, only a big mouth. There were no teeth, but a sour smell came from within its mouth. The spit of this beast was clearly very powerful. At this moment, Wang Lin's finger directly stabbed into the small creature's body. He moved his finger around, causing the small beast's body to shatter into pieces and disappear. Wang Lin withdrew his finger and continued to move. As he withdrew his finger, strands of grey gas came from the shattered remains of the small beast and circled around his finger. The celestial slaughter art harvests life force during slaughter. I just don't know if what I have between my fingers is life force. Wang Lin lowered his head to look at the grey gas around his finger. After pondering for a bit, he continued flying. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin moved very quickly but didn't go too deep into the area. He had his divine sense spread out and locked onto the people of the Da Luo sword sect. Their every move was clearly seen by Wang Lin's divine sense, they could hide nothing. Wang Lin wanted to see what exactly this brilliant golden fruit was. He also wanted to use the people of the Da Luo sword sect, especially those two soul transformation old men, as practice for his celestial slaughter art. Even now Wang Lin didn't have any goodwill toward the Da Luo sword sect. Right now, as Wang Lin flew through the mountain range, the grey gas around his fingers was several times thicker than before. The strands of grey gas were like strings that quickly circled Wang Lin's fingers. There was no lack of demonic beasts here in the Earth Northern demonic land, however, none of them were a threat to Wang Lin. If it wasn't for his desire to see what that brilliant golden fruit was, Wang Lin would have already gone deeper into the area to practice the celestial slaughter art with the powerful creatures. On this day, Wang Lin withdrew his finger from the head of a bull that had the power of a soul formation cultivator. At the moment he withdrew his finger, a thick stand of grey gas came out from the bull's forehead and circled his finger. The bull's body trembled and its gaze slowly faded until it fell down and remained motionless. Just at this moment, a ray of black lightning came from the distance. Along with a fierce roar, the mosquito's ferocious body appeared next to Wang Lin. Its large mouth stabbed into the bull's head, and with one suck, it sucked all the blood, flesh, essence, and the core of the bull. Only the bull's skeleton was left on the ground. After the mosquito beast finished sucking, a white light appeared around it. After flashing a few times, the white light disappeared, causing the terrifying hair on the mosquito beast to look even more fierce. The mosquito beast was very happy and began to fly in circles before Wang Lin. Along the way, every time Wang Lin killed a soul formation or above beast, he would call out the mosquito beast so it could absorb the beast's essence and core in order to stimulate the mosquito's growth. If it wasn't for the fact that the thunder toad wasn't suited for this method of growth, he would have released the thunder toad as well. The mosquito was, after all, a beast from the stars. Although it appeared on planet Suzaku for some reason back then, its ferocity was not something a beast from a cultivation planet could match. This beast lived to devour. It could devour any kind of beast in the world, and the more it devours, the stronger it becomes. After it started following Wang Lin, it had devoured countless pills, heavenly treasures, cores, and the like. Although its strength was still at the nascent soul stage, even some soul formation beasts would be affected by its ferocity. Wang Lin's body moved forward and floated in the air. Then the mosquito let out a roar and moved. It moved like lightning and appeared below Wang Lin's feet, then it brought Wang Lin deep into the mountain range. As it flew, Wang Lin noticed something. The mosquito beast also noticed it and immediately stopped. It remained motionless as it waited for Wang Lin's order. Wang Lin looked toward the south, revealed a smile, and muttered to himself, "Did they find the brilliant golden fruit?" With a thought, the mosquito moved toward the south without a sound. It was like a ghost a night. However, its eyes were filled with bloodlust and lit up like a ghostly flame. Wang Lin paid attention to the changes happening to the mosquito beast in these past few days. The mosquito beast seemed to be at a critical stage and was about to make a breakthrough. Every time the mosquito devoured the essence and core of a beast, there would be flashes of white light around it, just like when it devoured those white lines from the chaotic broken stars. Looking at the ghostly light in the mosquito's eyes, an image suddenly appeared inside Wang Lin's mind. On a certain large planet, there were countless mosquito beasts that covered the entire sky. Their gazes were all bright like ghostly flames. The people of the Da Luo sword sect moved quickly. They didn't make any stops and charged toward their destination following Qian Qin's guidance. Along the way, if any beast appeared, the two soul transformation elders would only need to send out a seal and the beast would be turned to dust. Their power was beyond Qian Qin's comprehension. Her own sect spent a lot of effort to get here, and seeing the beasts that gave her sect so much trouble destroyed so easily made her heart feel bitter. At this moment, she thought that this was all fate. If she could get just one fruit out of this trip, that would be enough. As for Guo Xingyin, he was very caring and kept trying to talk to Qian Qin along the way. He was clearly trying to repair the relationship between them. After experiencing the power of the Da Lu sword sect, she could only feel helpless and feign ignorance while enduring the humiliation. Along the way, Guo Xingyin's uncle master kept looking at Qian Qin's voluptuous body, and his eyes revealed a mysterious light. The group was very relaxed because even if some powerful demonic beasts showed up, the two soul transformation elders would easily take care of them. But in truth, after entering this place, the ones who were most nervous were the two Da Lu sword sect elders. This wasn't the first time the two of them had entered the Earth Northern demonic land, but this time was the most bizarre. At the beginning, when they first entered, they didn't have this feeling, but as they went deeper, a pressure that could cause someone to completely break down slowly surrounded the area. This kind of feeling might have been too faint for the others to feel, but for the two early-stage soul transformation elders of the Da Lu sword sect, this feeling was very strong. It was as if there was a pair of eyes watching them, but when they tried to check with their divine senses, they found nothing. It was like everything was just their own imagination. We haven't gone deep into the mountains, so there shouldn't be any desolate beasts around here. Why is this feeling so clear? Although the two elders looked very calm, they were nervously talking to each other through their divine senses as they trailed behind the group. Maybe something happened here. In these past 10 days, this feeling has constantly been there, but both of us have been checking our surroundings and nothing has happened. I think that whatever it is not targeting the two of us. Forget it. This place is simply too strange. Once we are done with the matter at hand, it is best for us to leave as soon as possible. Every second we stay here is making it more difficult for me to breathe. It's as if there is a large mountain weighing down on top of me. There is even a feeling like I'm about to collapse, lose control, and kill someone. This is a feeling I haven't had since I reached the soul formation stage. The short old man's eyes lit up and then he quickly sent his message. Eh? You also have this urge to kill? When I was killing that beast earlier, I almost lost control of myself. Shifang, there is definitely something wrong here. Should we leave now? The old man named Shi pondered a bit, then he looked at the juniors before them and said, we have already gotten this far, and there are only 3 days left. There shouldn't be any problems, we just need to increase our speed. The two of them looked at each other. They remained silent and continued to rush to their destination. The people before them, including the soul formation old man, didn't notice the fear that the two soul transformation cultivators were feeling. They continued to feel that the journey was going very smoothly. The brilliant golden fruit isn't meant to be eaten, it is a material for refining treasures. This fruit can increase the power of any metal element treasure, and the more one uses, the stronger the treasure becomes. Rumor has it that the 4 illusionary swords behind Sword Saint Ling Qianhu of the Da Lu sword sect were refined with a large amount of brilliant golden fruits. However, the amount he used was beyond imagination, and that was how he refined those 4 peerless swords. The places where the brilliant golden fruit can grow are extremely unpredictable. The fruit is formed from natural metal element and is a heavenly treasure that can appear anywhere. Once this fruit begins to grow, it looks exactly the same as any other normal fruit, but once it matures, it suddenly changes and is filled with metal element. After it matures, the time before it falls off the tree varies greatly. It can be as short as a few breaths of time or as long as several months. There is no rhyme or reason behind the time it takes for it to fall after it matures. Even to this day no one knows. Once the fruit matures, it attracts many metal element beasts, and these beasts become its protectors. The beasts guard the fruit until it falls, and once the fruit falls, the withered fruit's energy is absorbed by the roots, forming golden spirit roots. When a beast eats the golden spirit root, their intelligence is awakened, and they gain many benefits. However, if too many brilliant golden fruits are taken before they fall, the formation of the golden spirit roots is affected. If too many fruits are taken, the golden spirit root won't form at all. After the Da Lu sword sect people left, Wang Lin silently appeared on the mosquito's back. He looked toward where they were going and casually followed behind them. Due to the oppressive feeling that the two elders were feeling, the entire group was forced to move faster, so the normal 3-day journey was complete in 1.5 days. At this moment, Qian Qin, who had been leading the way, pointed forward and said, 2 months ago, Junior sect found the brilliant golden fruits there. Everyone's gazes followed the woman's finger. This location was where 2 mountains met, and between them was a valley. It was really quiet here, not a sound could be heard, and the ground was covered in leaves that gave off a rotting smell. Following her finger, they could see a faint, golden light coming from inside the valley, but there were many trees blocking the way, so it was hard to see exactly what was inside. After Qian Qin finished speaking, she took a few steps back and remained silent. The 2 Da Lu sword sect elders looked at each other. The taller one took a few steps out, his hand formed a seal, and he pressed his hand forward into the air. A thick amount of celestial spiritual energy suddenly gathered before him and blew toward the valley in a celestial gust. As the celestial gust flew across the area, the rotten leaves all disappeared, revealing what was underneath. All of the trees blocking the view were pushed apart by this celestial gust as well. A straight passage suddenly appeared before everyone. The end of the tunnel led deep into the valley. There was a ton of wild grass inside this valley, but everyone's gazes first fell to the eastern side of the valley. In the middle of an area covered in wild grass, there was a bunch of blooming, golden flowers. There wasn't just one golden flower, but an entire field. There was at least a dozen of them, and they were all competing with each other to bloom. Below the flowers were oval-shaped fruits the size of a thumb. These fruits were golden and had countless granular spots on them. From a distance, they looked like grapes. They seemed very ordinary and not different from normal wild fruits. Brilliant golden fruit? It indeed is the brilliant golden fruit. The 2 elders' eyes immediately lit up once they saw the fruits. The 2 of them didn't immediately enter the valley but carefully checked it. Finally, their gazes landed on a bush of wild grass 1 meter from the brilliant golden fruits. There was a small pile of rotting leaves on top of that bush of wild grass. At first glance, there was nothing unusual about this. After all, these rotting leaves were very common here. At this moment, a strange wind blew through the valley, causing the grass to rustle. The grass rustled and all of the leaves inside the valley were moved by this gust of wind. However, it was these leaves flying into the air that caused everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. At the moment these leaves flew into the air, what was revealed on the backside of the leaves were countless red spots. Their red dots were motionless, it was as if they were growing from the rotting leaves. 9 multitude bug, the tall elder named Shifang said this with a gloomy expression and then looked toward the short elder. 100 brilliant golden fruits would naturally have fierce guardians. Having 9 multitude bugs here is nothing to be surprised about. However, dealing with these bugs requires bait. The short elder's eyes lit up as his gaze landed on Qian Qin and the white-robed man beside her, and he revealed a cruel smile. At this moment, no one noticed that a ferocious figure was floating 1,000 feet away from them, and it was watching them. On the back of the ferocious figure sat a person with an ice-cold gaze. His gaze was so cold that there was no hint of warmth coming from it. This is clearly the golden spirit root. What the heck is a brilliant golden fruit? I guess these people don't really understand how to use this treasure and believe that the fruit is the essence. They don't realize that compared to the golden spirit root, the fruit is really insignificant. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Although the brilliant golden fruit sounded unfamiliar to him, after seeing it, he was able to find it inside two size memories. This treasure was formed from the natural 5 elements, so it has existed for a long time and would naturally be in two size memory. The best way to use it was to devour the root. This would make his body even stronger. For a child ancient god, this treasure was a rare nutritional supplement. Wang Lin was pondering when he suddenly looked down at the mosquito beast. At this moment, there was a faint, milky white light coming from the mosquito. Its gaze was locked onto the brilliant golden fruits in the valley and revealed an expression filled with desire for the fruits. Wang Lin had an idea and then patted the mosquito's head. The mosquito turned around, and after seeing Wang Lin nod to it, its eyes quickly revealed an excited light. It quickly turned around and stared at the brilliant golden fruits. This time it revealed a must-have gaze. Could this fruit have some special use for the mosquito? Wang Lin's eyes faintly lit up. The two Da Lu sword sect elders looked at each other, then the short elder suddenly reached out with his hand. The man in white next to Qian Qin exclaimed, and his body was thrown into the valley by an invisible force. Just as he was thrown into the valley, a sharp sound that could pierce the heavens echoed within the valley. In the blink of an eye, a large amount of red dots came out from the rotting leaves covering the valley and began to gather. From a distance, this sight was terrifying. Senior apprentice brother. Qian Qin suddenly turned around. She looked at the people of the Da Lu sword sect and shrilled, "What is the meaning of this, senior?" Just as Qian Qin finished speaking, those countless red dots began to move. The red dots gathered to form a giant, red cloud, then it began to emit a loud buzzing sound and moved toward the white-robed young man. Its speed was simply too fast. It moved like a red lightning bolt and surrounded the white-robed young man. At this moment, a scene that shocked everyone but the two elders to silence unfolded before them. The countless red dots broke through the white-robed young man's clothes and dug into his body. In just 3 breaths of time, his white robe was blood red. Bursts of terrifying screams and shrills came from his mouth. The intense pain caused him to keep scratching himself, and bone-deep cuts appeared all over his body. His body struggled and rolled violently in the valley. His eyes revealed a deep sense of despair and unimaginable hatred. Senior apprentice brother, Qian Qin trembled violently and revealed a pitiful smile. At this moment, almost all of the red dots in the valley appeared and entered the young man's body. His eyes slowly dimmed and his miserable screams slowly weakened. This happened extremely quickly, but it was very shocking. It caused everyone's expressions to become very ugly. Today's matter was caused by me. If Qian Qin's senior apprentice brother hadn't died, then it would have been fine and there wouldn't be a grudge between us. Yin Shaoqing looked toward Qian Qin with killing intent. As for the other woman, the one who called Guo Xingyin, senior apprentice brother, her face was pale, her small hand covered her mouth, and she looked like she was about to puke. Her body was trembling, as she was clearly terrified by what just happened. Only the blue-robed man who was always praising Guo Xingyin didn't show any sign of discomfort on his face. Instead, when he looked toward the valley, he had an intoxicated expression. The Da Lu sword sect Shifang smiled at the short elder and said, "It looks like the two of us don't have to kill anymore. That one person has already lured a majority of the 9 multitude bugs into his body." The short elder smiled and said, "Brother Shi is better with restrictions, I hope you won't hold back. Once we obtain the brilliant golden fruits, we still have to report back to the sect." Shifang laughed. Without a word, he slapped his bag and a red jade appeared in his hand. His right hand took the form of a sword as he pointed at the jade and said, "Sword seal restriction, open." With that, the jade immediately began to buzz and then flew into the valley as a ray of red light. When the red jade flew into the valley, the buzzing sound became even louder, and strands of red silk came out from the jade. Then, after a pause, there was a thunderous roar, and the red jade began to move in a mysterious fashion. In the blink of an eye, the speed of its movement increased until it seemed to have melted into countless strands. These countless red strands charged toward the young man that was barely struggling. The red silk moved extremely fast and arrived before the young man in the blink of an eye. The red silk didn't enter the young man but instead intertwined together to form a net, which surrounded the young man and the ground several feet around him. At this moment, the Da Lu sword sect elder, Shifang's, eyes lit up and he shouted, "Seal!" With the word, "seal," the red net began to emit a red light. There was a series of crackling sounds as countless rays of red light appeared all over the red net, forming a very powerful seal. After finishing all of this, the short, old elder immediately walked into the valley. Just as he entered, sound came from the leaves and red dots appeared from them, however, there weren't many of them this time. The short elder's expression was normal as he raised his right hand and flicked his finger. Every time he flicked, he sent out a ray of sword energy and a large amount of red dots were destroyed. In truth, if there were a few more 9 multitude bugs, it would have been very difficult for him to handle them, but now that there weren't many left, it looked like it was very easy for him to deal with them. The Da Lu sword sect Shifang flew into the valley. With his help, the remaining bugs were immediately destroyed. The third person to enter the valley was Guoxingyi's uncle master, and after him was everyone else. As for Qian Qin, the anger on her face had disappeared, and what remained was a terrifying calmness. After the short elder threw out the last ray of sword energy to destroy the last remaining 9 multitude bug, his eyes lit up and they landed on the field of golden flowers. "Lu Songyi, go pick those brilliant golden fruits." The short elder's voice was filled with a, "No one can disobey me, Majesty." Lu Songyi was the soul formation old man. After hearing this, he immediately nodded and was about to harvest the brilliant golden fruits. However, just at this moment, a gentle gust of wind entered the valley. At first there was nothing abnormal about this wind, at most it just rustled the leaves on the ground. However, when the wind landed on the 2 elders, their expressions changed greatly. Shifang suddenly turned his head, and his eyes lit up as he looked toward the outside of the valley. The short elder's face was gloomy. He placed his right hand over his bag of holding, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Their movement suddenly changed the entire atmosphere in the valley. There was now a killing intent surrounding the valley. As a result, the old man named Lu that was about to go harvest the fruit suddenly stopped and revealed a shocked expression. As for the other people, they were all the same. Only Qian Qin's eyes were calm as she looked at the body of her senior apprentice brother that had already died. It was as if everything happening around her had nothing to do with her anymore. Shifang pondered a bit and then shouted, "Fellow cultivator that just arrived, there is no need to pretend or hide. I'm one of the Da Lu sword sect's elders, Shifang. I wish for fellow cultivator to come out to speak." The 2 elders looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. At the moment that wind came, that feeling from before increased several-fold. At first it felt like there was a fierce beast far away, but then in the blink of an eye, that fierce beast was before his eyes. This drastic change immediately caused the 2 elders' hearts to tremble violently. A thick mass of grey gas came toward the valley. The grey gas was so thick that no one could clearly see the person inside. The grey gas stopped outside the valley. The moment the grey gas appeared, Shifang's expression became extremely ugly. The short elder's face was gloomy and he said, word for word, "Sir, you are." When he finished speaking, he didn't wait for a response. He let out a roar, his right hand touched his bag of holding, and a bronze mirror appeared in his hand. The mirror was thrown into the air and suddenly grew to 3 feet wide. It released a green light that surrounded the grey gas. At the moment the short elder threw out the mirror, Shifang, who had fought with the short elder for a long time, meaning their cooperation was very good, formed a seal with his 2 hands without any hesitation and the treasured sword on his back flew into the air. The sword floated vertically above his head, and the illusion of a large sword appeared behind him. Shifang shouted, "Chop!" At the moment 2 elders attacked, the soul formation old man, Lu Songyi, moved like lightning and quickly charged toward the brilliant golden fruits. He had cultivated for a long time and knew how to seize the moment of opportunity. Because he was already close to the fruits, he arrived there in the blink of an eye. The light from the bronze mirror was like a restriction that surrounded the grey gas. At the same time, Shifang's sword closed in like it was from the peak of the 9th heaven. Before the sword even closed in, there were already sonic booms from it breaking the sound barrier. The Da Lu sword sect was famous for their swords, so the power of their swords couldn't be weak. However, at the moment the sword energy descended, the grey gas suddenly moved. This movement was like 10,000 horses charging, like a tsunami that was sky high. In an instant, the grey gas charged through everything and surrounded the entire valley. Along with this charge, there was a cold voice that came from within the grey gas. How could the light of a firefly compete with the bright moon? This voice was extremely cold, and the moment the voice landed on everyone's ears, it caused them all to shiver. The green light surrounding the grey gas immediately collapsed into countless rays of green light before dissipating. Cracking sounds came from the bronze mirror in the sky before boom. The sword energy Shafang had struck out broke. This video will end here.